My sister was wearing my silk robe, drinking my $200 vintage wine, and holding a lighter to my living room curtains when the SWAT team finally kicked in the door. It was 2:14 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday in Seattle. I was standing barefoot on the wet pavement outside my own house, watching the blue and red police lights bounce off the shattered bay window. I wasn't crying. I think I was past crying. I was just watching her scream at the officers, claiming that I was the intruder, that I was the one who had ruined her life. Tell me, what would you do if your own flesh and blood looked you in the eye and told the police that you were dead, just so she could steal your life? Because that's exactly what Bella did. And honestly, looking back at the dashcam footage later, seeing her shoved into the back of a squad car, it was the most satisfying moment of my entire existence. But to understand why I didn't stop the police when they tackled her, we have to rewind. We have to go back way before the house, before the lawyers, and before I realized that my family wasn't just difficult, they were dangerous. I don't know if anyone else grew up like this. Let me know in the comments if this sounds familiar. In my house, there were two rules. My younger sister Bella was the fragile princess. I was the ATM. Bella was born with asthma. It wasn't severe, but my mother treated it like a terminal illness. If Bella coughed, the world stopped. If Bella wanted a toy, she got it, because stress is bad for her lungs. By 16, she had learned that a single wheeze could get her out of exams, chores, or consequences. I, on the other hand, was perfectly healthy, and in my mother's eyes, that meant I owed them. I remember my 16th birthday vividly. I had been working at a local diner, pulling shifts after school, saving up for a car, a beat-up 2005 Toyota Corolla. It wasn't much, but it was freedom. That morning, I came downstairs to find Mom and Bella at the kitchen table. There was a small cake from the grocery store. "Happy birthday, Alexandra," my mom said, not looking up from her phone. She slid an envelope across the table. My heart jumped. Maybe they had chipped in for insurance, gas money. I opened it. It was a bill. An overdue electric bill for $450. "We're a bit short this month," Mom said, sipping her coffee. "Since you're 16 now and working, it's time you contributed. Bella needs new inhalers, and they aren't cheap." My stomach dropped. "Mom, this is my car fund. I've been saving for 6 months." Bella looked up, eyes wide and innocent. "But Alex, I really need my medicine. Do you want me to get sick?" That was the trap. It was always the trap. If I said no, I was the monster who wanted her sister to die. If I said yes, I was the doormat. I paid the bill. I always paid the bill. Fast forward to my college graduation. I had clawed my way through a business degree on a full scholarship, pulling 2 jobs to pay for rent and food. I hadn't asked them for a dime in 4 years. I had 2 tickets for the ceremony. I invited them, foolishly thinking that seeing me walk across that stage with summa cum laude would finally make them proud. The ceremony started at 10 a.m. By 10:30, my name was approaching. I scanned the crowd desperately. Nothing. At 11:15, walking back to my seat, clutching my diploma, my phone buzzed. A text from Bella. "Hey, sorry we missed it. Mom's car got a flat tire. Also, can you transfer me $50? I'm at the mall and saw this cute dress for my date tonight. Love you." I walked out to the parking lot and called my mother. She answered on the second ring. Loud background noise behind her. "Mom? Where are you?" "Oh, Alex, honey, it was a disaster," she sighed. "The tire just blew out. We're waiting for AAA. "Really?" I asked, my voice trembling, because I can hear the mall music in the background. "Is that the Zara playlist?" Silence. Then Bella's voice piped up. "Mom, ask her about the $50. I hung up. I sat on the curb in my cap and gown and cried for exactly 10 minutes. Then I wiped my face, blocked their numbers for a week, and made a promise to myself. I was done being the ATM. I was done being the backup plan. That should have been the end. I should have cut them off right there. But here's the thing about toxic families. They train you to believe that one more chance will finally make them love you. So I left the door open. Just a crack. That crack cost me my house, my shoulder, and almost my life. Over the next 7 years, I became someone my family wouldn't recognize. Not because I got rich, though I did, but because I learned to stop apologizing for existing. The details don't matter. What matters is this. By 30, I owned a branding agency worth 7 figures, and I was engaged to Mark, the first person who ever told me that no was a complete sentence. Mark was an architect, calm, steady, kind, but not boring. He had this weird obsession with collecting vintage maps and could argue for hours about whether a hot dog is a sandwich, the exact opposite of the chaos I grew up with. But here's the thing about escaping your past. It has GPS tracking. When Mark suggested we move to Seattle to be closer to family, I said yes. I actually thought distance and success had fixed everything. Spoiler alert, success doesn't fix sociopaths. It just makes you a bigger target. The house cost $1.4 million. That's not bragging, that's context. Because when you grow up paying your family's electric bills at 16, buying a house like that isn't just real estate. It's proof that they were wrong about you. And oh, how badly I wanted them to see that proof. I closed on October 12th. I remember the date because it was the day I signed my own death warrant in my family's eyes. I invited my mother and Bella over for a housewarming dinner. I wanted to show them that I had made it, that the girl who paid the electric bill at 16 now owned property worth more than everything they'd ever have. I hired a private chef. I know, flashy, but I wanted everything to be perfect. I wore a cream cashmere sweater and my favorite pearls. The house smelled like roasted garlic and expensive candles. They arrived 45 minutes late. Bella walked in first. She was 28 now, still living with mom, still finding herself. She looked around the foyer, her eyes scanning the crown molding, the custom chandelier, the grand staircase. She didn't say, "Congratulations." She didn't say, "Wow, Alex, you did great." She turned to mom and said, loud enough for me to hear, "See, I told you she was hoarding money. This place is huge, too big for 2 people." My mom walked in, looking tired. She hugged me, but it felt limp. "It's nice, Alex. A bit excessive, don't you think?" "It's an investment, Mom," I said, smile plastered on. "Come in, have some champagne." We sat down for dinner. The tension was thicker than the clam chowder. "So," Bella said, stabbing a piece of asparagus, "I have news." I paused. "Oh? Did you get that job at the gallery?" She rolled her eyes. "No, better." She placed a hand on her stomach. "I'm pregnant." Mark choked on his water. "Congratulations," he managed. "Who's the father?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Does it matter?" Bella snapped. "He's out of the picture, a loser, but I'm keeping it. Mom is going to help me." She looked around the room, her eyes landing on the floor-to-ceiling windows. "You know," Bella said, gesturing with her fork, encompassing my entire living room, "Mom's apartment is only 2 bedrooms, and with the baby coming, it's going to be so cramped. The mold in the bathroom is bad for my asthma, and it'll be bad for the baby, too." I stopped eating. I knew where this was going. "What are you saying, Bella?" "I'm saying," she gestured with her fork, encompassing my entire living room, "that you have 4 bedrooms. You and Mark don't have kids. You're always working anyway." She took a sip of my wine, Crystal, Waterford, a wedding gift from Mark's parents, and hurled it at the wall. It shattered, red wine splashing across the freshly painted cream walls like blood. "This isn't over," she hissed, grabbing her purse. "You don't deserve this life, Alex, and I'm going to prove it." She stormed out. Mom followed, shooting me a look of pure disappointment. "You've changed, Alex. Money has made you cruel." I thought that was the end of it. I thought it was just a tantrum. I thought I could change the locks and move on. I was so wrong, because 3 days later, Mark and I left for a business conference in Tokyo. We were going to be gone for 10 days, and Bella knew the code to the garage. Be honest, would this motivate you to cut them off forever, or would you keep trying to win their approval? Because what happened next made that dinner party look like a polite disagreement. When I boarded that flight to Japan, I was a successful business owner with an annoying sister. By the time I landed back in Seattle, I was a suspect in a criminal investigation, and my house had been turned into a war zone. I stood in the pouring rain, staring at the keypad of my own garage. The code was 1989, my birth year. I punched it in, red light, access denied. I tried again, access denied. "Mark?" I said, my voice dangerously calm. Why isn't the code working? Mark, exhausted from a 13-hour flight from Tokyo and wrestling with 4 suitcases, sighed. Maybe the battery died? Let's just use the front door app. He pulled out his phone to unlock the smart lock. He tapped the screen, device offline. Administrator access revoked. That was the moment the jet lag evaporated, replaced by a cold, sharp spike of adrenaline. It was 11:42 p.m. on a Friday. The lights in my living room were blazing, and I could hear bass thumping. Not just music, bass. We walked up to the front porch. Through the frosted glass, I saw shadows moving, lots of them. I didn't knock. I pounded on the door with my fist, rattling the frame. Open the door, now! The music stopped. A few seconds later, the door swung open. It wasn't Bella. It was a guy I had never seen in my life before in my life. He was shirtless, wearing baggy sweatpants, and holding a slice of my pizza on one of my limited edition Wedgwood plates. Yo, can I help you? He asked, chewing loudly. Who the hell are you? Mark stepped forward, dropping the suitcases. And why are you eating off my wedding china? The guy blinked. Wedding china? Chill, bro. Bella invited us. It's the baby shower after party. I pushed past him. I literally shoved a stranger out of the way to get into my own foyer. The smell hit me first. Stale beer, cheap weed, and that cloying scent of vanilla vape smoke. My pristine cream hallway runner rug, an antique Persian that cost $4,000, was covered in muddy footprints. Bella! I screamed. My voice echoed off the high ceilings. My mother appeared from the kitchen. She was wearing an apron. My apron, the one Mark bought me in Florence. Alexandra? She looked genuinely shocked, wiping her hands on the fabric. You're back early. The itinerary said Tuesday. Get out, I said. I was shaking. Get out of my house, all of you, right now. Bella sauntered down the stairs. She was wearing a tight pink dress that accentuated her baby bump. She looked glowing, happy, like the lady of the manor. Alex, stop screaming, she said, waving a hand dismissively. You're stressing the baby. We're just having a few friends over to celebrate. Since you didn't want to throw me a shower, Mom did. I looked around. There were streamers taped to my hand-painted wallpaper, Scotch tape on hand-painted wallpaper. There were red solo cups on the grand piano. I'm calling the police, Mark said, pulling out his phone. This is trespassing. Bella didn't look scared. She smiled. A slow, terrifying smile that didn't reach her eyes. Go ahead, she said. Call them. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later, Officer Miller and Officer Hernandez. They broke in, I told Miller, pointing at Bella and my mom, who were now sitting calmly on the sofa, drinking tea like innocent victims. I want them arrested for breaking and entering. Officer Miller looked at Bella. Ma'am, do you live here? Yes, Bella said, instantly. I've been living here for 3 weeks. My sister is just having an episode. She's jealous of the pregnancy. Liar! I lunged forward, but Mark caught me. She has her own apartment. She broke in while we were in Japan. 3 weeks? The officer asked Bella. Can you prove that? Bella reached into her purse, a designer bag I noticed she'd stolen from my closet, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Here is the lease agreement, she said sweetly, signed by Alexandra herself. My jaw dropped. The officer took the paper. He shined his flashlight on it. It looks like a standard rental agreement, Miller said, looking at me. Dated October 1st. Tenant Bella, landlord Alexandra. That is a forgery, I shrieked. I never signed that. I was in Tokyo. It's dated before you left, ma'am, the officer said, his tone shifting. He was looking at me like I was the crazy one, like I was the unstable sister trying to evict a pregnant woman in the middle of the night. Look, Officer Hernandez stepped in. If she has a lease and she's established residency, which implies receiving mail or staying more than 14 days, we can't just kick her out. This is a civil matter. You'll have to go through the eviction courts. Eviction courts? Mark shouted. This is our house. We have the deed. And she has a lease, Miller said, handing the fake paper back to Bella. We aren't judges. We can't determine if the signature is fake on the sidewalk at midnight. You need to take this up with a lawyer. I looked at Bella. She mouthed the words, I told you so. So you're telling me, I said, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and exhaustion, that I have to leave my house while these intruders sleep in my bed? You don't have to leave, the officer shrugged. It's your house, but you can't force them out tonight, and if you try to physically remove them, you will be the one going to jail for assault, especially since she's pregnant. We left. We had to. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't sleep under the same roof as them without committing a felony. We checked into a hotel downtown at 2 a.m. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the wall. I felt violated. I felt stupid. "How did she get a lease?" Mark asked, pacing the room. "How did she get your signature?" I closed my eyes, and then I remembered. The paperwork for Mom's car insurance. 3 months ago, Bella had brought over a stack of papers for me to sign as a guarantor because Mom's credit was shot. I had signed them quickly between meetings without reading every single page. She must have slipped the lease agreement in the stack. She had been planning this for months, since before I even bought the house. She knew I was looking, she knew I would succeed, and she was ready to take it. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Sarah. Sarah is a shark in a Prada suit. I told her everything. "It's going to be tough, Alex," Sarah said. "In Seattle, tenant laws are incredibly strong. Even if the lease is fake, proving it takes time. Eviction can take 3 to 6 months. And with a baby on the way, no judge will sign an emergency eviction order unless there's immediate danger." "So they just win?" I asked. "No," Sarah said. "We play dirty. We need evidence of criminal activity, not just squatting. We need something that proves she's a danger to herself, the property, or others. We need to catch her slipping." And she slipped. 2 days later, while Mark and I were living out of suitcases, I got a notification on my phone. My security cameras. Bella had disabled the Wi-Fi to cut the cameras, but she forgot about the nanny cam I'd installed in the home office to watch our new puppy. It was battery-operated and saved to a local SD card, but it also uploaded clips via cellular data if it detected distinct motion. I opened the app. The video feed was grainy, black and white. It showed my home office. Bella was sitting at my desk. She was on the phone, and she was holding my passport. I turned the volume up. "Yeah, I found it," she was saying to someone. "Social security card, passport, everything. We can open the credit lines in her name tomorrow. Just make sure the cards are sent to the P.O. box, not here. I don't want Mark seeing the mail." She paused, listening to the person on the other end. "Don't worry," she laughed. "She's too busy trying to evict me legally. By the time she gets a court date, we'll have maxed out the equity line on the house. She'll be bankrupt, and I'll own the place." My blood turned to ice. This wasn't just about a place to stay. This wasn't just jealousy. This was identity theft. This was grand larceny. This was a calculated plan to destroy my entire financial existence. I showed the video to Sarah. Her eyes widened. "Okay," she said. "Now we have something. This isn't civil anymore. This is criminal fraud. But if we go to the police now, she might destroy the evidence before they get a warrant. We need to catch her in the act." "How?" I asked. "You need to go back inside," Sarah said. "You need to play nice. Pretend you're giving up. Tell her she can stay. Get back into the house, find where she's keeping the documents, and then we called the cavalry." I drove back to the house alone. Mark stayed at the hotel as backup. I punched in the code. Still didn't work. I knocked. Bella opened the door. She looked slug. "Back to beg?" she asked. I forced a smile. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. "You win, Bella," I said, holding up a peace offering, a box of expensive pastries. "The lawyer said eviction will take too long. You're pregnant. Your family. Let's work this out. You can stay." Bella's eyes lit up, not with gratitude, but with victory. "I knew you'd come around," she said, snatching the box. "Come in, but wipe your feet. I just had the carpets cleaned." I walked into the lion's den. The house was a disaster, but that wasn't what scared me. What scared me was the nursery. As I walked past the guest room, the door was open. They had painted the walls black, and on the wall, in jagged red letters, someone had written Alex's room. But it wasn't a bedroom. There was no bed, just a single chair in the middle of the room facing the wall. "What is that?" I asked, pointing. Bella smiled, a dark, twisted look crossing her face. "Oh, that? That's for you. Once the baby comes, Mom thinks you'll need a place to think about how selfish you've been. A timeout corner." I realized then that they didn't just want my money, they wanted to break my mind. I had to act fast. I had to find those credit applications before they ruined me. I waited until 3 a.m. The house was silent. I crept out of the guest room. I tiptoed to the office. The door was locked. I used a bobby pin, a trick I learned from a bad ex-boyfriend, and jimmied the lock. It clicked. I slipped inside. I opened the desk drawer. It was empty. Panic. pure panic. Then I heard a floorboard creak behind me. I spun around. Bella was standing in the doorway. She was holding a kitchen knife, and she wasn't smiling anymore. "I knew you were recording me," she whispered. "I know it's late, but I need to hear your voice. I just got back from the police and I'm still shaken." "Okay, so as you know, Bella has been living with me for 6 months now. It started as a temporary thing. She was down on her luck, pregnant, and nowhere to go. And I got this new big house, right? I just thought it was the right thing to do. But temporary quickly turned into permanent. She stopped looking for a job. She stopped helping out. It was like my beautiful new home was her own personal hotel. And the cherry on top, Mom kept calling me, telling me how I needed to take care of her, how Bella is the golden child, and I'm the lucky one, so it's my responsibility. Yesterday was the final straw. I finally told her I needed her space back. I didn't yell or anything. I just said it was time to start looking for another place. That was yesterday. And I hadn't heard a word from her. She wasn't even answering her door. And then this happened. I can still feel it in my chest. So it was around 3 a.m. and I woke up because I heard a knock at my bedroom door. I thought it was Bella, maybe she wanted to talk. But when I opened the door, it was pitch black. The only sound was the rain tapping against the window. You get this kind of thing here, right? Anyway, as I adjust for the light, I see Bella standing in my hallway, not in some normal pajamas. No, she's wearing this white nightgown and her hair is down her back. It's total Summer Mora vibes. And this is where it goes crazy. She holds up her hand and guess what? She's got a kitchen knife, not a small one, like the big chef's knife from my kitchen block. I freeze, right? And she starts talking in this whisper voice that makes my skin crawl. She says, "If you call the police, I will stab myself in the stomach right now. And I will tell them you did it because you were jealous of the baby." And then she does it to my mahogany desk, dragging the tip of the knife across it, leaving a deep white scratch. And she keeps going. Mom will believe me. The police will believe the crying pregnant woman over the rich, heartless sister who tried to evict her. You'll go to prison for attempted murder, and I'll raise my baby in my house. Honestly, in that moment, looking into her eyes, there was no humanity. It was like looking at a predator. I didn't try to be a hero. I backed away slowly, hands up, until I hit the door frame. Then I turned and ran out of the house, into the rainy night, barefoot, leaving my keys, my purse, and my dignity behind. Mark found me in the hotel lobby at 4 a.m., soaking wet, barefoot, shaking. He didn't ask what happened. He just held me until the sun came up. Then he said 5 words that changed everything. "We have her on camera." He was right. The nanny cam had captured the entire confrontation, the knife, the threat, everything. We called Sarah. "This is it," she said. "This isn't a tenant dispute anymore. This is a psychiatric emergency and a criminal threat. We can get an emergency protective order and a psychiatric hold, but we need to serve it at the right moment. She's having a gender reveal party today at 2 p.m., I said. "The whole family will be there. Mom, aunts, cousins." "Good," Sarah said. "Let them see who she really is." We arrived at the house at 2:15 p.m., 20 cars in the driveway, blue and pink balloons tied to my mailbox, a banner over the garage that read "Bella's New Beginning." I wasn't alone this time. I had Mark, I had Sarah, and parked down the street waiting for our signal was a squad car. We walked in, front door wide open. The house was packed. People drinking punch from my crystal bowls. My mom holding court in the living room, showing off a stroller she couldn't afford. When I walked in, the music died. "Alex," Mom frowned, "I thought you were at a hotel. This is a private party." "This is my house, Mom," I said, stepping into the center of the room, voice loud, clear, steady. "And the party is over." Bella appeared at the top of the grand staircase, white gown, looking like a bride. "Get out," she screamed. "You're ruining my moment." "No, Bella," I shouted back, holding up my phone. I'm playing the recording right now for everyone. I connected to the Bluetooth speaker system. She hadn't changed the password. Bella's voice boomed through the living room. If you call the police, I will stab myself in the stomach right now, and I will tell them you did it because you were jealous of the baby. The silence was deafening. My aunts gasped. My mom's face went pale. That's not real, Mom stammered. That's AI. You faked that. It's time to go, Bella, I said. The police are outside. This is the moment where everything went in slow motion. Bella didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She snapped. Her face twisted into a mask of pure hatred. She looked around, realizing her audience was looking at her with horror, not adoration. The victim narrative was dead. You ruin everything, she shrieked, primal, like an animal caught in a trap. She grabbed a heavy bronze statue from the hallway table, a sculpture Mark brought back from Greece, at least 10 pounds. Bella, stop, Mark yelled, sprinting toward the stairs. She hurled the statue down with terrifying force. I twisted to dodge. The heavy bronze base caught me on the shoulder. A sickening crack echoed through the house. Pain exploded. I fell backward, hitting the floor hard. Vision blurred, people screaming. But Bella wasn't done. She came running down the stairs, not with the grace of a pregnant woman, but with the speed of a linebacker. She grabbed a steak knife from the buffet table. "I'll kill you," she screamed. "It's my house. It's my baby's house." Mark tackled her. He hit her waist high just as she raised the knife. They crashed into the side table, shattering a lamp. "Get off me," she screamed, thrashing, kicking Mark in the face. "My baby, you're hurting the baby." "Drop the knife," Mark roared, pinning her wrist to the floor. I was trying to crawl away, clutching my shattered shoulder. The pain was blinding. When the first officer burst through the door, Bella broke free for a second. She grabbed a candle from the buffet table and hurled it at the curtains. The flames caught instantly. "If I can't have it, no one can," she screamed. That's when they finally brought her down. "Police, drop the weapon." Officer Miller, the same one from before, rushed in with his gun drawn. They pulled Bella off the floor. She was screaming, spitting, kicking. It took 2 grown men to handcuff her. "She attacked me," Bella screamed. "My sister attacked me. I'm pregnant. Help me." But nobody was listening. The guests were recording on their phones. The audio was still paused on the speakers. And I was lying on the floor, arm clearly broken, while firefighters rushed to put out the curtain. I looked up to see my mother standing over me. I thought she was going to help me. Instead, she looked at me with disgust. "Look what you made her do," she hissed. "Are you happy now?" Mom's face crumpled. For a second, she looked like she was going to apologize. Then her expression hardened. "You were always jealous of her," she whispered. "Even as a baby, you wanted all the attention." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Mom, I was 4 when she was born. I didn't want attention. I just wanted you to look at me like I was worth something." She had no answer. The paramedics rushed in. As they loaded me onto the stretcher, they wheeled me past Bella. She stopped struggling for a second, locked eyes with me. "This isn't over," she said. Her voice was calm, cold. "I'll get out eventually, and when I do," she smiled. That same smile from when we were kids, the one she used right before she broke my toys and blamed it on me. "I'll find you." The officer shoved her into the car. I blacked out as the ambulance doors closed. I woke up in a hospital bed at Harborview Medical Center with a titanium plate in my shoulder and 3 missed calls from Detective Reynolds. Bella woke up in King County Jail without her straightener, her specialized asthma medication, and her mom. Mark was sleeping in the plastic chair next to my bed, holding my hand. His other hand was bandaged where Bella had bitten. "She's denied bail," he whispered when he saw my eyes open. "Flight risk and the threats." I didn't smile. I didn't cry. Just a wave of pure, exhausted relief. But the universe wasn't done with Bella yet. When you pull a loose thread in a sweater, the whole thing unravels. And Bella's life was about to unravel in a way not even I could have predicted. The police didn't just charge her with assault. Because of the video evidence, they executed a search warrant on my mother's apartment. They found everything. The identity theft wasn't just a future plan. Bella had already opened 3 credit cards in my name 2 years ago. She'd racked up $40,000 in debt, designer clothes, spa treatments, and a lawyer retainer for a previous shoplifting charge I didn't even know about. Officer Miller personally came to take my statement. He looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, staring at his shoes. "If I had known, you had the lease," I said, voice raspy from pain meds. "You could have checked the signature then, but you saw a pregnant woman and assumed I was the villain." He didn't have an answer. My mother visited 3 days later. She wasn't allowed in because Mark put her on the no visitor list, so she caused a scene in the lobby until security called me. I told them to let her up. I needed closure. She walked in looking smaller than I remember. Old, frail. "Alex," she started, tears welling. "You have to drop the charges. Bella isn't doing well in there. The stress is bad for the baby." I stared at her. "Mom, she broke my shoulder. She tried to stab Mark. She stole $40,000 from me. She tried to burn down my house. She's sick," Mom pleaded. "She needs help, not prison. If you testify against her, she'll give birth in jail. Can you live with that guilt?" And that was the moment. The final cord snapped. "I'm not the one who put her there, Mom. You did." "Me? You taught her that she could do anything and get away with it because she was fragile. You taught her that my role was to pay for her mistakes. You created this monster. Now you can watch the consequences." I pointed to the door with my good arm. "Get out. Don't call me. If you try to contact me again, I'll add you to the restraining order." She left, sobbing. I never saw her again. But the universe had one more surprise for Bella, and it came in a sealed envelope marked "Paternity Results Confidential." During discovery, Bella's defense lawyer argued for leniency because she was a single mother abandoned by a wealthy partner. She claimed the father was a prominent Seattle real estate developer she had briefly dated, and that he promised to buy her a house, which is why she felt entitled to mine. The court ordered a paternity test. The results came back 2 weeks before sentencing. The father wasn't the wealthy developer. The father was her ex-boyfriend's 19-year-old brother, a kid who worked at a gas station and had zero money. Bella had been lying to everyone: Mom, me, the developer, her friends, hoping to trap the rich guy into paying hush money. When the results were read in court, her entire defense collapsed. The developer sued her for defamation. Lawyer resigned because she had perjured herself. I didn't have to lift a finger. Her own lies ate her alive. The trial lasted 3 days. I testified, Mark testified, the video played on a loop. The jury took 2 hours. Guilty. Assault in the 2nd degree, identity theft, 1st degree, attempted extortion, arson. The judge was a stern woman who didn't buy the Fragile Princess Act. "Miss Bella," the judge said, peering over her glasses, "you have weaponized your pregnancy and your family's love to commit crimes that show a complete lack of remorse. You are not a victim. You are a predator. Sentence: 8 years in state prison." She gave birth in custody. The baby, a girl, was immediately placed into foster care because Mom was deemed unfit due to her enabling role in the fraud investigation. A lovely couple of Oregon eventually adopted the baby. I send them anonymous gifts on Christmas, but I keep my distance. That child deserves a fresh start, away from our toxic bloodline. We sold the house. I couldn't walk past that staircase without hearing my shoulder crack, couldn't look at the guest room without seeing black paint and the words "Alex's room." We moved to a condo in Bellevue. No guest bedrooms, excellent security, a doorman who actually checks ID. My shoulder still aches when it rains, but I consider that pain a gift, a reminder that no is a complete sentence. Mark and I are expecting a boy next month, and I promise you one thing, he will never hear the words, "Give it to your sister, she needs it more." So that's my story. I lost my family, my dream house, and 20% of my mobility in my left arm. But I gained my freedom. Tell me, do you think 8 years was enough for what she did? And was I wrong to let my niece go into the foster system instead of taking her in? I honestly struggle with that decision every day. Thanks for listening.